there, YouTube? I'm back again today for another game review. And today I'm very excited to check out London from Osprey Games. This is for 2 to 4 players. Take about 60 to 90 minutes to play, and it's for ages 14 plus. And in London, you are going to be building your own city in London. You're going to be laying down cards, you're going to be flipping over cards, you're going to be having to deal with all the poverty and paupers and all these other bad stuff, trying to keep your head above water and have the most victory points at the end of the game. It's an older game. I'd say it's probably like 10, 15 years old that's being reprinted by Osprey Games. Does it hold up? Let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of London. So first and foremost, we're going to get a handy-dandy rule booklet. It's probably about 10, 11 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples. It's very well done, and it should have you up and running in no time at all. Big, big thumbs up on the rule booklet. So in London, what you're going to be doing is you are going to be building a city in front of you in your tableau down here, and it will be a bunch of cards. And then you're going to be activating that city, which will give you victory points, it will give you money, it will give you poverty, it will take away your poverty. It'll do a variety of different things. So let's go over the components. Let's get into the gameplay. So first, component-wise, we got these coins over here. You're going to be using these to purchase a variety of different things. They come in increments of 1, 5, and 10. Next, you're going to have these black cubes and these black circles right here. These are going to be poverty, and you will be acquiring poverty quite frequently throughout the game. You're going to get poverty for doing a variety of different things. Next, you're going to have these loans right here. Sometimes you will have to take out loans from the bank. It's not ideal, and if you have these at the end of the game, you're probably going to lose, but you might be forced to take out loans from time to time. Next, you're going to have these big, thick, tarot-sized cards right here, and these are going to be actual locations that you will be building. So you're going to be building a city of these smaller cards, but the city of the smaller cards is going to be in a specific location, if that makes sense. And these cards are very important. They're going to score you a lot of points. They're going to give you cards. They're going to clear up poverty. So let's take you through one and I'll show you how it works. So first in the upper right-hand corner, that's how much money you're going to have to spend to acquire this city. And that's a good chunk of change. Money is not as easy as you would like it to be to come across in this game. But when you purchase this, what's going to happen is your old city that you used to have, city, coincidentally enough, is going to lose all of its special abilities except for the fact that you'll still remember that it used to be on the North Shore. And that's what this little symbol in the upper left-hand corner means. But when you purchase this, you will immediately get these special abilities on the right side. They're one time. So you draw 2 cards, you get 4 victory points, and you lose 2 poverty. Now, you also get this persistent special ability down here, and whenever you activate your city, you'll also gain a coin. So for instance, whenever you activate a city, you would immediately gain a poverty. That one's not really that good, but I'm assuming whatever else is on the card is pretty good. There's a whole variety of these cities, and you're going to be purchasing quite a few throughout the game. Last but not least, and the star of the show, are going to be these cards right here. And these cards are broken down into 3 separate kinds of cards. There's Type A cards, Type B cards, and Type C cards. Type C will be at the bottom, Type B will be in the middle, Type A will be on the top. And obviously the Type C cards are more powerful than Type B cards, and they're more powerful than Type A cards. You know, pretty typical stuff there. When you first start off the game, I believe you're going to have 6 of these said cards, and these cards are going to be your lifeblood in this game. You're going to be doing a variety of different things in these cards. You're going to use these cards to purchase other cards. You're going to be using these cards to put cards down in front of you. These cards will gain you money. These cards will gain you poverty or clean up your poverty. You're going to be flipping over these cards. For instance, this card, every turn that it's down, is going to, well, you only get to use it once, but it'll get rid of 2 poverty. And I'll walk you through some of these cards a little bit later. Last, we have this board up here, and this board is where you're going to be keeping track of the score. It's also going to tell you how much victory points you're going to lose at the end of the game for having poverty. And this is where you're going to be putting cards that you discard. Because in order to build buildings or do various different things with buildings, you're going to have to discard cards. And there's no discard pile. The discard cards actually go onto the board. And it's black over here because this is for higher player counts. This is for lower player counts. But this is where you're going to be putting those cards. So when you discard cards, other people will have the opportunity to pick up those cards. So what am I talking about? Let's just run you through a mock hand and you'll get an idea for how the game works. Because at its core, it's a very simple game. It's one of those games where on your turn, the first thing you're always going to do is you're going to draw 1 city card. And these are city cards. You're either going to take a city card from this big pile over here, or you're going to take a city card from anywhere out here. Pretty self-explanatory. So obviously at the beginning of the game, nothing out here. So I'm just going to draw this card right here. Now that I've drawn my card, I'm going to be able to take one and only one action on my turn. And there's 4 actions that you could potentially take. So this game really is a very simple, straightforward game. There's only going to be 4 things you'll do the entire thing. The first thing you can do, and it's normally not the best choice, but sometimes you have to do it, is you just draw 3 city cards. So we'll just do that one first because it's the easiest. You would just take 1, 2, 3 city cards, or 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. You could take any combination of the city cards from cards out here and cards there. That'd be the end of your turn. Simple as that. The next thing you can do is you can develop your city. This means that you're going to be able to put cards down in front of you. And how you do that is you have to acquire the cards, you have to purchase the cards by playing a card of the same color. So you know what? Let's just say I want to play this Mercer's card. It'll give me $5. So if I want to put this down, I put it down just like this, but in order to do that, I have to discard a card of the same color. I could not discard this card because it's blue. I would have to discard this one. That goes, boom, right there. Simple as that. You discard a card, and then you put one out, and that would be the end of your turn. As I said, turns in this game are generally pretty snappy. The next thing you can do is you can buy land. To buy land, you have to purchase one of these 3 cards out here. You pay the money, and you put it down in front of you. So for instance, if I want to do that, I pay 5, and I could buy this one right here. Now that would not be a very good idea at the beginning of the game, because as you can see, there are some cards, like this one, take $2 from each player, where other people might take money from you, and if you don't have money, then you have to take out loans, and loans are bad. But anywho, I'm not going to preach to you about how to live your life. So when you purchase this, you immediately gain these abilities over here. So I would get rid of 2 poverty. Since I don't have any poverty, that's a little bit of a bummer. I would get 1 victory point, so I'd move up 1 on the victory point tracker, which, as we remember, was right up here. And then I would also get 4 cards, which most likely would be the most lucrative reason why I'd do this, because drawing 4 cards, hey, that's a great thing to do, because having cards in your hand is good to a certain extent. I'll tell you about that extent in a second. The next action, and the final action you can do on your turn, is to activate your city. And I talked a little bit earlier about how activating your city is doing all the cards that you have down here. So this would be a terrible idea to activate your city right now, because when you activate your city, you get to do the special abilities on all the cards you have down here. But you're also going to gain poverty. You'll gain poverty for every $10 in loans you have. You'll gain poverty for every stack of cards you have. So right now I'd only gain 1 poverty for that. But you also gain poverty for all the cards in your hand, which means I would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 poverty right now, which obviously is a terrible, terrible idea. So you want to be very picky about the opportunities when you want to activate your city, because yes, while I may want to get this $5 right here by flipping this card upside down, because that's what you actually have to do here, it's not going to be worth it to gain 10 poverty. So most likely on my next turn, I might buy something else. So I might buy, well, I couldn't buy this because it cost 8 in the upper left-hand corner. So if there's a number in the upper left-hand corner, that's how much money you have to spend when you build it. But you know what? I could buy this coffee. But you know what? I'll play this leather industry right here. That's a good one. That's going to give me $7. So I might play that on my next turn. And then I would discard this one. So that's it. That's what you're going to do on your turn. You are either going to draw 3 cards after drawing your 1 card. You're going to purchase one of these piles of land. You were going to play down cards into your city right here, or you were going to activate your city. So at face value, it's a very straightforward game. Eventually, when you run out of all these cards, everybody will get 1 more turn, and the game will end. And you're going to get victory points, I believe, for how much money you had. I think it was 3. Every $3 will get you like 1 victory point. So it's not the most lucrative way to win the game, but it is actually a viable strategy. That's one thing I liked about this game, was that money was a potential strategy in this game. You're also going to lose victory points based on how much poverty you have, and the person who has the lowest poverty actually doesn't lose any victory points, but it cancels out other people's victory points. So let's just say you're playing a 4-player game, and one person has 4 poverty, 8 poverty, 12 poverty, 16 poverty. Well, that person who has 4 poverty doesn't lose any points for having the poverty, but everyone else also gets 4 points of poverty knocked off of their poverty amount, if that makes sense. But anywho, you'll total up the score. Whoever has the highest score will be the winner of London. And that, in Jumbled Nutshell, is how you're going to play London. Alrighty then, London from Osprey Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. First and foremost, 2 to 4 players, very restricted player count. Another con that I have to this game is the fact that it's a very I don't want to say it's a mean game. Like, it's not an attack game where people are going to be attacking you consistently. But the game itself is a very it's a fickle mistress. You are going to be having to deal with poverty on poverty on poverty on poverty on poverty, and poverty will be a problem for you most of the time throughout the entire game, which some people are just not going to like. I personally really did enjoy that, but some people are not going to like the fact that one wrong decision or one bad turn can really screw you over in this game on that poverty, the amount of poverty you have. And that's going to be a turnoff to some people. Also, the theme is a little bit weak. Yeah, you're building a city and activating cities, and you don't really feel connected to the cards. It's just, hey, this card gives me $7 but 1 poverty, and hey, this card does this, and hey, this card does that. Now, I want to point out that thematically, the cards actually do work. Like, if you look at the cards, you're like, oh, this is a prison, so then I lose 3 poverty because the people that were in poverty are now in prison. So they actually make sense thematically. It's just the theme of the game didn't come across as much as I would have liked it to. Another con that I have in this game is that some people are going to want more choices in the game. While the choices you make in the game are very interesting choices, I do think, at its core, though, you're only going to be able to do 1 of 4 things on your turn. That's it. And one of the options is just to draw cards, so it's not really that appealing of an option most of the time. Most of the time, you will know exactly what you're going to do on your turn beforehand, so that is going to be a turn-off to some people. I think some people are just going to want a couple more choices in the game. Any other cons that I have with it? I'm really kind of stretching here for cons, because moving on to the pros, I really stinking enjoyed London. I was incredibly pleasantly surprised by London. This is going to go into my collection, and there's a lot of really good reasons why I can wholeheartedly recommend this game. So first and foremost, it's 2 to 4 players. It plays well at all 3 of the player counts. I tried it at 2, 3, and 4 players. I liked it at each and every one of them, which is a really difficult task for a lot of games to pull off. And another thing I liked about this game is that while there weren't as many choices as you might like, all the choices you made were interesting choices, and you had a plethora of choices to make on your turn, especially when you have a lot of cards in your hand. Do you go for a really big city that's going to do a whole lot of cool things, but at the same time is going to draw you a lot of poverty? Do you go for a small, efficient city? I also like the fact that there seemed like there was a couple different strategies to victory in this game, and unlike a lot of games, especially Euro games, collecting money seemed like a viable strategy in this game, which is something I always appreciate when I can just be, a greedy dude trying to get as much money as possible, and that's a possible strategy. I like that. I also like how many cards are in the game. There's a lot of different cards in this game, and there's some that are like Tier A and Tier B and Tier C, and they're the kind of cards where once you play more, you'll be like, oh, if I can get this card, and then I can get this other card in Tier B, and then I can get this other card in Tier C, they're going to stack up on top of each other, and it's going to be amazing. And I love when a game, just lets you do that, where it's like, oh, you could get this super awesome combination. It's not going to be the easiest to get, but you could potentially get it, and I really did dig that. I like the fact that when you discard cards, they go out onto the board, so you need to be cognizant about what you're discarding, especially in a 2-player game, because other people potentially can and will pick up those cards. I like the paupers. I like how those paupers clog up their hand and they're really annoying. I like the fact that a lot of the time you really need to think about whether you want to run your city or not. You can't just run your city, run your city, run your city, run your city, because you're going to run up a lot of poverty, and I enjoyed that. You couldn't tell I'm a big fan of this game. I'm super glad they reprinted it. I'm super glad they brought it back. The theme is ho-hum, but other than that, London is a it's a great game. It's an easy game to recommend. And one of the biggest things I like about this game, and I forgot to mention it, was the fact that it's easy to learn and it's easy to teach, which generally when you're talking about midweight Euros, that's not the case. When you get in midweight Euros, it's like, all right, so you can do this or this or this or this or this or this, but you do this to do this, and you do this to do this. And the explanation normally takes a while. This explanation for this game did not take nearly as long as I was expecting it to, because it boils down to you can either play a card into your city, you can buy some land, you can activate your city, or you can draw cards. That's all you can do on your turn. You can do one of those 4 things. And most of the time, the choice is going to be something that's somewhat obvious to you. So I like that because it made it easy to learn and easy to teach. I'm not going to call this a gateway game, but honestly, of my midweight Euros, I think this is one of the easiest ones to learn and to teach, as long as you're playing it with people who do not mind the unforgiving nature of the game when it comes to poverty. In the end, though, I really enjoyed London. I'm so glad they reprinted this. This is one that's going into my collection. Enjoyed it an awful lot. So that is London from Osprey Games. You're in the market for a midweight Euro, 2 to 4 players. Definitely recommend checking this one out. It's a cool little city building, tableau building game. wholeheartedly recommended. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, Elvis, yay or nay? For me personally, yay. Big Elvis fan. Not so much on like the teeny bop stuff that he did, but for a lot of his older stuff, I really enjoyed it. And a lot of stuff where he went more into his rock route, I really enjoyed that. But still, I like his teeny bop stuff a lot too. Just, I like his other stuff better. But Elvis, yay or nay? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.